Hello, everybody. Welcome to Resilience+Rise, the podcast. Here, I'm on a mission to unlock the mindset needed to conquer life's toughest challenges, or I would put it as some of the marathons of life. My name is Thomas Scaria, and this podcast is inspired by my upcoming book, Resilience+Rise 26.2 Transformative Miles to Unleash Your Marathon of Life Mindset. It is set to release in early 2025. Just like a marathon, wherein it has got kilometers or miles, each episode I work towards putting it for 26 minutes. Sometimes it goes a little more longer, or sometimes it's shorter. But each journey is designed to bring a powerful insight and stories of resilience. We dive into the experiences of people who have faced adversities head on and emerged with a renewed sense of purpose, strength, and hope. So, if you're ready to build an unbreakable mindset, uncover what truly it means to rise in the face of challenges, then you're in the right place. Let's dive in and discover what is possible when we choose resilience. For today, my guest is David Onigbanjo. David is an ex-military UK, but in the recent past, he's moved from the comforts that he could be where he was to a more of coaching, helping people to break the boundaries, break the ceiling walls. So, without much of further introduction, let me just jump into and get David on board. Hello, David. Welcome.
Hi, Thomas. Thank you.
Hi.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. And I've known you for a few months, and it has always been a sense of intrigue that you were in military, you had a set disciplined life going forward. Everything was working out well for you. You had post military, you would have got a job which was comfortable in its own way, but you rose to walk another path into the service of coaching, helping people to break the shackles of being complacent, breaking plateaus, as you have mentioned on your LinkedIn. Guys, I will be putting out David's LinkedIn details or other social media in my comments. So please like, share, follow him, and it's going to be very much wonderful because I've learned a lot looking at his LinkedIn pages. Anyway, David, let's dive in about how you have reached this stage of being who you are.
Great. No, thank you, Thomas. Okay. Um, I think it starts before I joined the military. When I was about 13, I remember watching the TV, and at 13, I was quite a tubby, not very active 13-year-old. I'd go and play out with friends, but nothing too physical. And I was sat in front of the TV, and it was showing the Royal Tournament at Earl's Court. And just at the time that I was watching it, the Royal Navy display team came on, and these guys came on in their like gymnastic tights and different coloured tops, and put on this demonstration in the arena in Earl's Court, climbing ropes, and there's a thing called a window ladder, and they change shapes and things to
Hmm.
music, but
Okay.
it looked quite athletic. It looked really good. And I remember thinking, I wish I could do that. I could never see someone like me being strong enough and fit enough to do something like that.
Okay.
Anyway, fast forward, I when I left school, I joined the Navy.
Okay.
And after my initial my first ship, I had the opportunity of joining the Royal Navy display team.
Nice.
And,
Okay.
and it triggered something in my head because I remembered being 13 and thinking, I wish I could do something like that. And I was older, but I was a little bit fitter. But to be on the display team, you had to be really fit.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was hard work, but I wasn't alone. There was 60 of us, and I loved it. I really, really enjoyed it. I was the fittest I'd ever been in my life, with a bunch of great mates. But I remember thinking, all those years ago, I would never have believed I could do this. And so that triggered. So it was a year on the display team, traveling nationally and internationally, representing the Navy. It was a good recruitment drive, a recruitment tool.
Okay.
And it triggered in me that things are possible. You don't have to try and do it all at once.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can imagine it, then many things you can actually do. It's application, but it means working on yourself and
Mm-hmm.
working in your own mind. So I was an engineer in the Navy. And when I left, before I left, I always wanted to do jobs that were a bit different. I didn't just want to do engineering jobs. I wanted to broaden my experience and try my hand at different things. So when I left the Navy, I managed to get a job at Tower Bridge in London. So I used to maintain and operate Tower Bridge in London.
Wow. Okay.
And again, it was a different type of job, but I changed really from engineering. I started then actually working on and with people because I looked after health and safety as part of the engineering there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found that working with people is much, much more interesting than working with bits of machinery.
Okay.
And so it was something that I wanted to do full time. So I swapped jobs, got some qualifications and some training, and became a HR business partner. So I had a understanding of people management. I had an understanding of what drove people, and at the same time, I started to coach and mentor internally people in the organization. And I think I got as much out of coaching and mentoring them, and I grew as they did, from the coaching and mentoring.
Okay.
Um, so I gradually worked my way more and more towards organization and people development rather than the general HR stuff. In my spare time, I then volunteered to be a mentor with one of it was a Prince's Trust. So at the time it was, it was Prince Charles. And they had a program on called Mosaic.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to mentor groups of school children. They were
Wonderful.
about 14, 15-year-old. We'd go into school and we'd take a whole year, the whole school year, and we'd divide them up into groups of about 15 each, and each of them would have a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd mentor these guys through self-efficacy, believing in themselves,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
presentation skills, communication skills, all those type of things. And again, from the very, I don't know if you've worked with groups of youths, but to start with, they're a
I
bit,
have. Mm-hmm.
bit standoffish, and all this. And by the end of it, absolutely fantastic. Got on really well with them, brought them out of their shells, and you could just see them grow in front of you. And what was beautiful about that was once they're engaged, they're like sponges. They want to know more. They're curious. They ask questions, which helps you to grow as an individual and as the mentor.
True.
So I did that for a few years, and it just got me to believe even more that if you are willing to work on yourself, if you are willing to question and challenge yourself, um, get out of your comfort zone on a regular basis, you can achieve so much. And what I thrive on is helping people to do that. So I'm now in the fortunate position that that's what I do full time. And
Wonderful.
and I help people who feel stuck. They,
Wonderful.
something may not be working in the way it used to. And sometimes it's just being able to take a pause, have a couple of conversations about where you thought you were heading, or what's not actually moving at the pace that you want, to see it move. Things have stalled, and then recognize what it is that you really want to do in your life, not just in work, and then working up a plan, an action plan or a roadmap to get there. If this is what you really want to do, what lights you up, what gets you out of bed in the morning, and would make you go to work, skip to work on a Monday morning rather than think, oh no, it's Monday, I've got to go to work.
Sure.
That's what I like to do. That's what I work on.
Fantastic. So, amazing lessons. So, what I just heard in this conversation was first and foremost, I heard about hard work. One other element which was resonating in bits, but which spoke very much loud, was a sense of belief
Yes.
and being working in that particular space, being open. And again, I could hear the element of that. Of course, being from the Navy, I believe it would have been the purpose would have been driven. But what is fascinating is that how you dwelled yourself moving from the Navy into the Tower Bridge, into getting into helping the mentorship for the young lads or the kids around and reached into this particular space. If I hone on, sorry, the element of resilience, that when we have seen this particular journey, it sounds great. He did this thing, he did this thing, he did this thing. But there would have been moments wherein you would have had to reevaluate, get more resilient about where you're driving to. Do you have some of those particular incidents, some of those points which you can help the listeners to that you can do it? You can continue with the self belief, but you can still get on the other side.
Yes. So in I was working for an organization for quite a number of years, and I suppose you can become a little bit institutionalized,
Mhm.
and it creeps up on you. So I didn't realize that there was very little joy in the actual job. There was micromanagement going on. There was It was almost like nobody trusted the knowledge and capabilities that their people had, including me. And so I felt as though I was being de-skilled.
Mhm.
I had very little energy, and I had a 2 hour commute each way. So that's 4 hours traveling each day just to go to and from work.
And a
And I had
work that you do not like so much.
absolutely.
Okay.
And in my head, I'd fallen into the trap of I'm the breadwinner. This is what you do. You go to work, you earn your salary to put food on the table, and that's if you don't have to like it, you just have to get on with it. And I'd got into that routine, and I've been doing this for a number of years, and I didn't realize just how ill it was making me.
Okay.
And I I found that I was often out of breath.
Hmm.
And so I went and saw my doctor, and I said, I'm constantly out of breath. I don't know what's going on. I sit on the train, I get off the train. I'm on an escalator, I get off that, and then I walk the short distance to the office. Yeah, I'm out of breath, uh, but I'm not unfit. So what's going on? And it turns out I I had a problem with my heart.
Oh, okay.
And long story short, I was very close to a heart attack.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I uh, and hereditarily, well, it must have been hereditary because none of the risk factors, so my age, my weight, and my lifestyle, I don't smoke, you know, those things weren't there. So it must have been something else. But it could also, what doesn't help is having a job that you don't like, a routine that is tiring, and a work environment that's extremely stressful.
Hmm.
And so, these things were making me ill. So I had an operation, which cleared my heart. And I had a conversation with my wife, and she said, "Look, um, I'd rather have you here than not here." So she said, "That work is not worth it. Do something that you enjoy. Do something that doesn't feel like a duty. It feels like you are doing some,
Yeah.
it's almost like a calling." So that was my permission to leave that job and do something that I have believed in and that gives me energy. And that was my journey here.
Wonderful. In fact, when you have mentioned about it, I had done a survey with a lot of middle-level management and higher management, C-suite level, wherein we had spoken about work-life balance. And unfortunately, a lot of people they use work as life, and they
Yes,
don't realize the amount of time they spend at work. And let's face it, I've had talks with many people regarding this, and they mentioned it looks glossy, it looks great on paper, but as you mentioned, it is eating them internally. And
yeah,
we as human, we feel that everything is fine. If something happens, it is to the neighbor or somebody else, but not to us.
yes,
And it's only when we take a recheck about our own priorities, what is our purpose, what gives us the joy, you use the word joy, what gives us purpose, what allows us to live. Because I have asked this question time and again to a lot of people is that are you living or are you existing?
mm,
And a lot of people they forget that we are just existing, we are going through the motions. And there was a beautiful word which you used, which could be used as a very very negative way, breadwinner.
mm,
It is like the Damocles sword. It's over our head, but it is not very comfortable. But when you break those prisons, when you break those shackles, when you break those chains, and then you want to do what you want to do,
yes.
how's your heart at this point of time?
It's all good. It's good. I feel great. Um, I I don't dread Mondays. In fact, I enjoy Mondays. I enjoy my week, and I know what a toxic environment looks like and feels
Mm,
like, and I would never put myself in one. And I encourage others to try to recognize the same. You know, um, really, what are the elements that you used to love about? Why did you get into a certain profession? What are the elements that you used to love about it, and what's missing now? But recognize if you are stuck, like I was, um, and then there is hope. You know, there's other things that we can do, or you can do, and sometimes it's a mind reset. It's these are the things that I don't like about my job. Well, but what are the things that you do like about your job, and how can you get more of that and less of the other? You know, and that and sometimes it involves people,
Chris.
but sometimes it's an outlook on the work that we are doing. Um, and it's just teasing those things out and really having the time and space to think about, okay, then so what's next for me?
Okay,
Where do I see this? And importantly, what's the legacy I want to leave?
beautiful. That's a wonderful thing is that we when we think about legacy, people think also about the children or things like that. But the space that we are in, it is a community that we build up because the legacy is not about what we are, but the people that we interact with, the community that we interact with, the thoughts that we give them and make them more. For me, it's about this particular book is that how you can be resilient. Everybody has got that DNA.
Yes.
Everybody has got that element that they can change their life from just existing to living,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
how we can make them live a bigger and a better life. That when they look back and they say, I've done that.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
it is totally on that particular platform. I can totally empathize on what exactly you're working towards. Uh, so David, can you also tell me is that now you're moved into this coaching platform wherein you help executives and different uh, personalities. Can you tell me a little more about the platform that you are in?
In what respect?
What do you do?
What I
What
offer?
is what's your what skills do you hone on that you can now that if the to the listeners that's hearing this podcast and they say okay David, now that's the thing which I was having an issue with. Maybe it could be negotiation, it could be breaking the chains or what. For me, I talk about uh, the extra that you put in ordinary makes you extraordinary. So how do you work towards that particular extra? So what are the elements that you would put across?
Well, I think everybody's unique, so each client has a different story, and they come with different issues. But what I find is that, as I said right at the start about self, so working on yourself, so helping clients to become self-aware. What's my situation right now? What things led me to this position? What am I good at? What do I like? And what do I need to know more about? So being really aware of self,
Okay,
and then what do I want to do?
okay,
So uh, I've worked for years in leadership and talent development.
wonderful.
So I can help you know, with specific leadership stuff, but the main thing is around mindset thinking, and the thinking really directs our behaviors, and our behaviors influence our outcomes, our results. And so getting right down to how am I thinking? And if we can get some control of our thinking, if we understand what triggers some of our thinking, that's all about the self-awareness, then we will see our results change. So I start with self,
Okay,
and then consider what, so as a leader, okay, I'm getting better and more self-aware about, me internally, but then what do people need from me? So then the second part is about others.
hmm.
So what do they need from me, and how do I know?
Okay,
So we work on that, and then the final part is, okay, so what do I want, and how do I get there?
wonderful.
And that is, so planning, whatever it is, people have different ambitions.
Mm-hmm.
So if this is what I want, and I want this by then, what needs to be in place along the way for me to, one, achieve it, but two, to know that I'm progressing towards it. And so we work on those two, those things too.
Fantastic. Wow. You don't realize when you're having a good talk how time goes away. But we are nearly come to the end of our conversation. Is there something that you would like to tell the listeners, a key takeaway that Because for me, when I know that I'll be listening to this conversation time and again just to uh, work through it, but I've heard a lot about the hard work, the belief, the mind. It's how your focus is, what your purpose is, and just being more kinder to your own self, understanding what life is all about. But do you have some key takeaways or some values that you would like the audience or the listeners to take away?
Yes. Now, you mentioned a couple of times about plateaus, and we all we all hit plateaus many times. We It's very difficult. I don't know anybody that can remain at peak performance continuously.
Of course.
And so I've got a tool that people can actually use. It's free. It's just 10 questions,
Okay.
and it will help them to see if they're heading for a plateau or not, and where that plateau may be, what be the maybe the main factor
Mm.
in hitting the plateau, so that they can recognize it, and it gives them the opportunity of doing something about it. And so I'll provide you with a link, and any listeners that want to have a use of the tool are more than welcome.
Okay. So, guys, as you just heard, is that David has got a link that could help you to know whether you are existing, living, or you're in the mode of driving. Choice is yours. And again, as I mentioned, is that his links will be provided in the comments down below. And so, with this, David, what I would like to conclude our session. A huge thank you. I would wish you all the best as you continue with this onward journey, not only about helping others, but helping the communities and making it the world a better place to live in. So,
Thank
guys,
you,
what
Tom.
we are, as I mentioned, is that it's a reminder that resilience isn't reserved for a select few. It is how you are adding that extra in your ordinary existence or living to make you extraordinary. Believing in your dreams, as David mentioned, having a belief, putting in the hard work, striving towards it, finding out what the priorities are. When I talk about work life balance, is work become your life? Or is there a difference that work is just a subset of your life? It is your choice. For this week, I sign off. Thank you so very much, David. Have a wonderful rest of the day, a beautiful week ahead. Take care, mate.
Thank you, Thomas.